How's it hanging, everybody? Today we're talking about my JRPG bucket list. I have many JRPGs that I have never played that I would like to play. Currently, I'm playing Dragon Quest XI. I'm loving it. I've never played a Dragon Quest game, at least not one of the core games. And I'm so late on the bandwagon, but I'm so stoked to finally be on. And after this, I am playing Final Fantasy VII Remake. That has been decided. However, after that, I have no idea what's coming. So I know that these are games that I want to play, and I figure I'm just going to have to look at them all one by one in a bracket format just to make it interesting. Pit these games against each other and then see which one might come out on top. Who knows? I literally don't know like which one's going to win. Like, I'm just gonna have to look at all sorts of different criteria. I'm gonna think about the game length. I mean, I hate to be that person, but I'm a busy man. I have to think about these things. If a game is gonna be 97 hours like Persona 5 down there, then I mean, that's gonna be a tough sell, you know? But if a game is a lot shorter, then I can get in and out of it quickly and get that game off my list and experience it and enjoy it, then that would be a selling point for me. Another thing I'm going to look at is platform preference. Like, what games, what platforms are these games available on? Am I going to have to like emulate it? Can I play it like on, really, my first choice is going to be the Nintendo Switch. So can I play it there? Can I play it on maybe on Steam? Who knows? I mean, platform preference is going to be a key here. It's going to be, you know, the games that I can play in optimal form on the Switch are going to be, are going to get favoritism, I think. So, and then there's just general hype and interest. I mean, some games I'm going to want to play more than others, and so that's going to come into effect as well. So anyway, without further ado, let's look at round one, okay? So round one, we have
Trials of Mana versus Undertale.
That's actually
Trials of Mana Remake.
But yeah, so Trials of Mana, I've never owned this game. I currently do not own this remake version of Trials of Mana. I do own the original, because that came out not too long ago, like a couple years ago on the Switch as the collection of Mana with the first two games bundled as well. This is like the third game in the Mana series, or the Seiken Densetsu series. I always really loved Secret of Mana growing up. That was kind of one of the games that I cut my teeth on when I was getting into JRPGs back in the day. So I have a fair amount of enthusiasm for this game, but I do not own it, so I would have to buy it. So that's kind of 1 point deduction right there. And then there's Undertale, which is technically, I'm cheating because Undertale is not a JRPG. Let's call Undertale a BRPG, because that is where Boston is where Toby Fox hails from, the creator of Undertale. So Undertale is an indie titan. It is like an indie cult classic game. It is modeled heavily after JRPGs, particularly Earthbound, and it's a game that it only lasts about 6 hours. So I have to take that into consideration. I don't want this to just be a battle of like the short games. I don't want that. I want it to be about genuine interest. But honestly, I mean, Undertale, I own it on the Switch and I don't have to buy it. So that's probably going to be the deciding factor here, because my interest in both of these games is pretty similar. So I would say Undertale is going to have to take this round because I own it. So that just makes it a little easier to decide. So congratulations, Undertale. You are getting your point and you are going on to round two. Submit. There we go. All right, so next up, we have
Octopath Traveler versus Lost Sphere.
Okay, so Octopath Traveler is a game that recently came to PC, and I got a lot more interested in it when it came to PC. It is a very retro-inspired RPG because of the pixel graphics and all of that. It has a very cool art style, some very cool lighting and things like that. And I really think that this game would really shine on PC, where you have that extra, graphic processing power and everything. So that is something I'm very interested in. I do not own it, so we're kind of back to that whole scenario. Lost Sphere is similar in some ways. It's also a Square-Enix game. It is a Tokyo RPG Factory game. I'll get into them in just a second. But it's a very retro-inspired RPG, but it is not in the same way. Octopath Traveler is a very modern game experience, from what I understand, but the graphics are very throwback. Whereas Lost Sphere is kind of the opposite. It has some kind of, polished 3D graphics, but the gameplay itself is very reminiscent of Chrono Trigger, much like its sort of spiritual predecessor, also by Tokyo RPG Factory, and that is Am Setsuna. I played Am Setsuna and I loved it. It didn't get the greatest critical reception, but I thought it was such a dark, interesting story, and I liked the game. I didn't like the ending so much, but I did like the game quite a bit. And Lost Sphere is supposed to be better, so I think I've answered my own question, plus I own it. So, if I own a game, more likely to check it out. Okay, so that one was an easy one, pretty much. We're gonna give this one to Lost Sphere. Lost Sphere, congratulations, you are in round 2. All right, next up, we have
Pokemon Shield versus Ease 1.
What is the subtitle of Ease 1?
Ease 1. Ancient Ease vanished.
Okay, I couldn't remember that for some reason. No, there it is. I've got it right in front of me. Okay. Pokemon Shield. I've never played a Pokemon game. I mean, culturally, I just feel this is like an obligatory related choice. Like, at some point in my life, I'm going to have to play a freaking Pokemon game. It's just going to have to happen. And Pokemon Shield is probably the best place to start, or Sword would be the best place to start. And I chose Shield here specifically because I own that one. I got it for, holiday gift this past holiday season. And I actually asked for it because my nephew is a big Pokemon fan, and I figured this was something that we could do together over the holidays, like have some bonding and play this game. And so that's what we did. So we played it for just a little while. I mean, I didn't pick it back up, honestly, when I got back home. So there's that. I wasn't exactly enthralled by the game and inspired to come back to it. But I do own it. It is on the Switch, and I'm going to have to play a Pokemon game at some point in my life. So there's that. And then there's Ease, Book 1. So that's Ancient Ease Vanished. Okay. I own this one as well. I own this one on the TurboGrafx 16 CD. I believe this game debuted on the Sega Master System, but it eventually got ported to the TurboGrafx 16 CD. That's probably not even what the system's called. I probably just butchered that, but whatever. I own it. I have the thing over here, and it is a fascinating. So it's a CD game, so lots of cutscenes, voice acting, stuff like that. This was the early days of cutscenes and voice acting, and this game has a very interesting intro. Like, in fact, go YouTube search Ease 1 intro movie for Turbo CD or TurboGrafx CD. Check that out, because it is a strange, kind of trippy, psychedelic JRPG from the 90s, and it's very intriguing. Like, I watched that and I'm like, man, that looks really cool. I'm gonna try this out. And then I try it out, and the combat, the actual gameplay looks absolutely nothing like you would expect it to look from that intro, which was a little disappointing. Even the music and everything just changes whenever you start into the gameplay. But I mean, I'm still, interested because it is a classic series, and it does have that weird combat style where you just like bump into your enemy, and if you're stronger than your enemy, you will just kill them and do damage, no problem. But if you are weaker than your enemy, then you're going to be in trouble. So it's just a matter of trying to power up and make sure that you're ahead of the enemies that you're attacking, I guess. Something like that. That's my own misinformed interpretation of that. But this is a very weird pairing. These games are absolutely nothing alike. Pokemon is a massive like pop culture phenomenon. Ys is a classic, probably overlooked series on the whole, especially maybe the earlier games. And so, I mean, there's another thing I have to consider, and that is that Ys takes about 6 hours to beat, kind of like Undertale. By the way, I got all of these incredibly accurate counts on how long these games to beat on the always correct, infallible howlongtobeat.com. I find this site to just be a beacon of accuracy. That is a lie. That site bothers me a lot because whenever I look up my playtime, or whenever I have my playtimes in mind and I look up the actual like census playtimes, they're always way different. So I don't know. I don't know if I really trust that site. It could just be that I'm a real weirdo when it comes to playing games and I take way too long because I just do a lot of dilly-dallying. I do like to dilly-dally in my video games, which is another reason I need to make this list, because I need to find out who's winning this bracket, because these games take very long, man. They take very long. I mean, Pokemon Shield, I don't know if I checked that one. How long does Pokemon Shield take to beat? 25 hours? Okay. Anyway, I know the answer. It's Ys for several reasons. It doesn't have the platform preference, but it does have some other stuff going for it. Very cool. I'm just suddenly very interested in this series since I got my TurboGrafx 16 Mini. So we're going to give this round to Ys 1. Ancient Ys Vanished. Enjoy your point and move on to the next round. All right. So next up we have
Chrono Trigger versus Chrono Cross.
Okay. Chrono Trigger is my favorite JRPG of all time. It is the only game on this list that I have played. I have played Chrono Trigger. I played it back in the 90s. I loved it. And I have called it my favorite JRPG of all time. I've called it one of my favorite games of all time for my whole life, pretty much. And I haven't replayed it ever. I just had the one playthrough. So you would think that even with all these other games in front of me that I want to play and I want to get through, I should probably make some time someday to replay Chrono Trigger. I mean, come on. I need to replay the game. And then it's going up against Chrono Cross, which is kind of its spiritual successor, different art direction, obviously. I mean, you know that just from looking at the covers here. And it's on the PS1, and I don't really have a good way to play it. Chrono Trigger is currently on Steam, and I picked it up for cheap on Steam. And it had some problems because it was basically the mobile port of the game starting out, but since then it's gotten a lot of updates that have basically made the game a lot more true to the original. So I feel good about playing that on Steam. Chrono Cross, on the other hand, is tricky. I mean, I could get it for I think maybe the Vita or something, or I could try to emulate it. And I don't want to emulate it because emulating PlayStation 1 games just seems like kind of a nightmare. I've always had bad experiences with it. Not as bad as N64, but still pretty bad. So Chrono Cross, I think, is out for that reason mostly. So that's a pretty easy round. Chrono Trigger, my favorite game, my favorite JRPG of all time, was probably going to pull this one out. So congratulations, Chrono Trigger. You are on to the next round. Next up, we have
Earthbound versus Final Fantasy Legend.
Okay. Earthbound it's the ultimate like guilt trip game for me. I need to out of obligation, I need to play Earthbound. I have never played Earthbound, which is ridiculous because I'm so interested in the series. I read all the news stories that come out on the like, you know, it's the Mother. Earthbound is the Mother series in Japan. And Mother 3, you know, never came to the States, and there's been rumors for a million years that Mother 3 is going to finally come to the States and Nintendo's going to port it and fulfill our dreams, and it's just never happened. But damn it. Come back here. I just got a green screen, guys, and I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm having a bad time. But it's just gonna be weird. Okay, fine. Earthbound is, yeah, like I said, that ultimate guilt trip game. I really want to play it. I want to play it, admittedly, more than any game on this list. I want to play Earthbound more. But the problem is, I know that eventually this game is gonna come out on the Switch. It's gonna happen. It's gonna come out on the Switch. And you know, it'll probably come out, knowing my luck, it'll probably come out while I'm playing it on like the SNES Classic or something stupid like that. I don't want to play it on the SNES Classic. I don't know why. I just don't want to deal with having an extra like thing out here that I have to deal with just to play this one game. Big time first world problem. Of course I can play it. I have the SNES Classic. I can play it. I would be fine. But then there's the Final Fantasy Legend, and the Final Fantasy Legend fulfills a couple of interests for me because, for one, I would really like to play a JRPG game on the Game Boy, and the reason for that, I'm not exactly. It's just something I'm interested in. Like, I've played JRPGs on pretty much every other platform, but I've never played one on the Game Boy, the original Game Boy. So I'm kind of, you know, I really loved Link's Awakening. So I want to kind of have I would like to have a JRPG experience on the Game Boy. And my research has basically told me that the Final Fantasy Legends series for the Game Boy is pretty much the best you're going to find. So, and another interesting thing is this is branded as a Final Fantasy game in the West, but in Japan, it's actually a saga game. That is Romancing Saga, like that whole series. So this is a Romancing Saga game, basically, and I've wanted to play one of those as well. I didn't put one on this list, except unless you can count this one. So I'm interested in that one. I don't know how I would play it. I own the cartridge, weirdly. So maybe I could wait for like the Analog Pocket or something. I don't know, because I'm getting that, but Earthbound is probably a little more practical. Neither of these are very practical. This is like a practicality nightmare right here. But Earthbound is the one that I want to play more, and I know that it wins the round basically for that reason. My enthusiasm is through the roof for Earthbound. I want to play it so badly. So let's go ahead. We're gonna give the round to Earthbound. Congratulations, Earthbound. No big surprises here. Enjoy making it to the next round. Okay, next up, we have
Trials of Mana
the original version
versus Phantasy Star 4.
All right, so we've already talked about Trials of Mana. On the left, that's what that is, Trials of Mana, aka Seiken Densetsu 3 for the Super Famicom. Recently, in recent years, ported to the Switch and other consoles, I guess, but to the Switch on the Collection of Mana. So I own that collection. I don't know why I bought it, but I remember it was like a Nintendo Direct or something, and I saw the trailer for Collection of Mana, and I was like, ooh, yeah, Secret of Mana. And I bought it, and it was like $40. It's kind of a lot for, you know, old games like that. And I messed around with it a bit. All three games, I messed around with them just a little bit, but I never really played any. So I would like to get my money's worth out of that, because that was a pretty big investment. So that's pretty interesting right there. But then there's Phantasy Star 4. And Phantasy Star 4 I can play on the Sega Genesis collection on the Switch. So platform preference, check. I got that there. So, but Phantasy Star 4 is, I'm very interested in the Phantasy Star series right now because not that long ago, I played Phantasy Star 1, the Sega Ages edition. Excuse me. The Sega Ages edition. And I enjoyed it a lot, like way more than I expected. It's a very old school game, but I had a ton of fun with it. I thought that the quality of life improvements that came bundled with that Sega Ages edition were amazing. The dungeon map, amazing. Having on screen like health and MP and everything all the time, amazing. So, and it just looked cool. Like the interface looked really cool. And so I enjoyed every moment of that game. And it got me really kind of amped for the Phantasy Star series. And my understanding is that Phantasy Star 4 is the best one. So I really want to play that. And I think that out of pretty much sheer enthusiasm, because I can play both of these on the Switch, no problem. But Phantasy Star 4, I just want it a little more. So it's gonna squeak out this round. We're giving this round 2. Phantasy Star 4, congratulations, you're on to round 2. And we are into the final 2 rounds. Okay, so, or the final 2 matches. So next up we got
Final Fantasy 12, the Zodiac Age versus Dragon Quest 3.
Okay. So Final Fantasy 12, the Zodiac Age is kind of a heavy remastering of Final Fantasy 12 is my understanding. This came out a few years ago, and Final Fantasy 12 is pretty much the Final Fantasy game that I'm the most interested in, other than Final Fantasy 7 Remake, which I'm about to play. So this would be a cool Final Fantasy game to play. If anything, it's a very well-liked game. It's very critically well-received. And it's got a cool battle system, apparently, cool combat system. And I just really like the kind of visual aesthetic that they're going for. It's got a cool art direction. It's kind of like this mishmash of like steampunk and like ancient Rome or something. Like it's a very interesting kind of juxtaposition there. And you can kind of get some vibes from that here on that cover. But then there's Dragon Warrior 3, aka Dragon Quest 3, over here on the right. And the thing about that game is, if I were to play it, I would have to emulate it, because Tim Rogers told me that I have to play that on the Super Nintendo. And it would be a translated version, because that game, the Super Nintendo version, never came out in the States. So it would be like a fan translated version. And I've never actually played a fan translated JRPG, but I think that would be kind of interesting. So there's that. But more than anything, I'm just super hyped for Dragon Quest right now, because I'm playing Dragon Quest 11 and it's amazing. Like, I'm so happy that I'm playing this game. It is a wonderful juxtaposition of like new school and old school. It looks like a gorgeous brand new game, but it plays so much like these old, like, SNES era RPGs. It's fascinating the way that they kind of pulled that off. And then the story's great. It's super long, which is cool. I mean, I'm getting my money's worth out of it. But I'm just amped right now for the Dragon Quest series. So I think that I'm gonna have to emulate it, but I don't own Final Fantasy 12, the Zodiac Age. I would have to buy that. And with Dragon Quest 3, I actually have Dragon Quest 3 on the Switch, but it's a crappy mobile port, and I refuse to play it. I kind of wish I hadn't bought it, because I feel like I wasted money. But yeah, Dragon Quest 3, the SNES edition emulated fan translation is what it's going to be. And I like how the cover on this NES version of Dragon Quest, aka Warrior 3, says RPG, and then it defines RPG for you. It tells you it's a role-playing game with hyphens. Role-playing-game. I don't know what's up with that, but it's kind of interesting. Back in the day, the NES people didn't know what that was really, I guess. Okay, so coming back over here. All right, Phantasy Star. I'm sorry. What am I? Dragon Quest 11. What am I saying? Dragon Quest 3. Congratulations. You get your point. You are on to the next round. Good golly. I'm taking a swig, guys. I'm taking a moment to recollect. Sorry about that. Okay. So we're on to the last round, or rather the last match of this round. So that would be
Persona 5 versus Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch Remastered.
all right. So, okay. So for these games, I own Persona 5. I do not own Ni no Kuni Remastered. Persona 5, kind of another one of those obligatory things. Like, the game looks cool. I think I would enjoy it. I'm not 100% sure I would. Something about the Persona games, the aesthetic, kind of just doesn't do it for me. Like, I remember trying to play a Persona game years ago on the PSP, and it just looked so boring, and it was kind of just in the, like, the grade school thing where everybody's in high school and everybody kind of looks like a J-pop star or whatever. And I just wasn't really down with the aesthetics of that game. But at the same time, it got rave reviews, Persona 5. I picked it up for, I think I got it for like $10 on PS4. So I have it, it's there, and it's just another one of those games that I'm like, backlogged and need to play. But that game would take 97 hours to play, according to howlongtobeat.com. That's a long time, man. Like, Dragon Quest it's close to that. Like, my understanding is it's quite close, but I mean, that's a super long haul. I mean, if you're like wishy-washy about that game, if you're not really loving it moment to moment, then you're just gonna put it down, I think. So, Persona 5. So there's that really interesting looking game, critically acclaimed. I've got it in my catalog. And then there's Ni no Kuni Remastered. So Ni no Kuni has some animation from some of the folks from Studio Ghibli, the Miyazaki studio. So that is, I love Studio Ghibli. So of course, when you get Studio Ghibli in a video game, that's like a huge deal. It's like the coolest animator you could ever have, or the coolest animation studio you could ever have, participating in a video game. It's pretty awesome. So I played Ni no Kuni 2, which had a lot of those same people involved in the animation, and the character models were great. The art direction was great. It looked stunning, amazing, and I didn't like it. I just didn't like the gameplay. I didn't like the combat. I definitely didn't like the whole world building thing, or I'm sorry, the kind of town simulator thing. I definitely didn't like the whole like battle skirmishes that you had to do occasionally. Those were super annoying. So that game, the story also had like issues. I just didn't like the story. So I just put it down, man. I was like 20 hours in or more, and I was just like, I'm good on Ni no Kuni 2. But still, I am intrigued by the original Ni no Kuni, because basically what I want to do is I want to take all the stuff I loved about Ni no Kuni 2 and enjoy that in a just better game. And I understand that the first Ni no Kuni is a better game, and I love that it's remastered, because we get an even fresher coat of paint on all of the beautiful like Miyazaki or the Studio Ghibli character models and designs and everything. So that would be really cool to play. I do not own it though, so I would have to buy it. So honestly, I mean, given my spotty track record with Ni no Kuni, I think it makes sense to give the nod here to Persona 5. Okay, so Persona 5, congratulations. By the skin of your teeth, you are moving on with all 97 of your hours to round 2. Okay, so it's going to go a little faster now. We've talked about each game individually, and now it's just a matter of doing these last few matchups and getting a winner. So first up in round 2 is Undertale versus Lost Sphere. We can see the times, 6 hours versus 25 hours. Again, not everything to me, but it's there. It's significant. But basically, Undertale and Lost Sphere. So I've already played I Am Setsuna, which is very similar to Lost Sphere, I understand, and I enjoyed it. But Lost Sphere is kind of a spiritual successor, kind of the same game, it feels, or kind of the same engine, if you know what I mean. Whereas Undertale would be a whole new experience for me. And I can't deny that 6 hours is so appealing. I mean, that's like easy. I can play that in a day, easy. I can get through Undertale in 1 day, easy. So that is incredibly appealing. Lost Sphere is not a long one, but honestly, yeah, I mean, Undertale, cult classic, super quick to get through. It's got to be the choice. I've got to go with Undertale on this round. So gonna go ahead. Undertale, congratulations, you are in the semifinals. Hell yeah. Okay, and next up, we have Ease 1 versus Chrono Trigger. Wow. That is a tricky one. Man. Ease, another incredibly short game. 6 hours, just like Undertale. According to the, infallible howlongtobeat.com. And then we've got Chrono Trigger, another short game, not as short, but man, I just don't know where to go on that one. I guess, if anything, I might have to say that Chrono Trigger just wins the platform war here. Like, Chrono Trigger is, I can play it on Steam with ease. I'd have to, drag out the turbo graphics and spend a long time, but it's only 6 hours though. So, given that I've already played Chrono Trigger, I obviously need to play it again. It's my claim is that it's my favorite JRPG of all time. Ease, I'm just really interested in, I'm really intrigued by. It's a super old, awkward game, but I'm just so charmed by it. And it's got the price is right when it comes to that length, man. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and do the damn thing and give it to Ease. Wow, I just did that. Okay, no looking back. Okay, next up, Earthbound versus Phantasy Star 4. Man, some heavy hitters, y'all. Earthbound, like I said, this is the game I want to play more than anything on this list. So really, there's that. But there's also platform preference, which is a big deal to me for whatever reason, for me and my first world problems. Wow, Earthbound is a 78. Wait, does that say 70 or 20? What does that say? 28 hours. It's a 28-hour game. Okay, that's not long. These are comparable in length, so that's not really a big factor. Phantasy Star 4 would be, again, I know what's going to happen. I know Earthbound's coming out on the Switch, so it's just a matter of waiting. So when that happens, Earthbound is going to place a lot higher in my bracket. But for now, Phantasy Star 4, I've already got it. It's locked and loaded. It's on the Sega Genesis collection on the Switch, ready to go. So that's going to have to be my answer. Phantasy Star 4, you are moving on to the semifinals. Okay, last in this round, we have Dragon Quest III versus Persona 5. Persona 5, wow, that's long, and I am skeptical about the series because of what I mentioned with my past experiences with it. Just thought it was a little dorky, like in not a good way. And Dragon Quest, on the other hand, is a series that I am totally stoked for because I'm playing 11 right now and it's so amazing. And I really feel like it's a treat for me to get to go back to previous entries of this series. Dragon Quest VIII is another really big one that I was looking at, and I almost put it on the list here, but I thought that 3 is the one that I want to play a little more. And again, I would have to do it. It would have to be emulated SNES version fan translation. So for several reasons, I'm going to have to go with Dragon Quest here. So Dragon Quest 3, you're on to the semifinals, dog. Okay, so our semifinals, we have Undertale versus Ys. Wow, the battle of the short RPGs, the 6-hour games. That is kind of hilarious. Okay, but what do we have to look at here? Ys is on the TurboGrafx. Kind of don't want to play on the TurboGrafx, but at the same time, it's only 6 hours. I mean, how hard is it going to be? How much trouble is it going to be to get through a 6-hour game on this platform? It's not going to be hard at all. Undertale is on the Switch. That's really cool. Cult classic is Undertale. Really cool Boston RPG. And then we have Ys, this crazy psychedelic intro, followed by some weird kind of drab gameplay that still looks charming. It's the charm factor that gets me on that one. But ultimately, I think that my answer is going to have to be Undertale, because Undertale is, it's just a little bit higher on my enthusiasm list. I really want to play through it, so it is going to have to advance to the finals. Are we going to be able to do this? You going to be able to do this? Oh, that's weird. Oh, okay. Cool. All right. On to the finals. And last in the semifinals, we have Phantasy Star 4 versus Dragon Quest 11. Man, tough. That is a tough one. This may be the toughest match I've had yet. My interest in both of these games is high. It's extremely high. Phantasy Star, like I said, I played Phantasy Star 1 not too long ago. I loved it. I'm so ready for another entry. Dragon Quest 4 is the best in the series, or so I've heard. So that's so cool, man. That's so cool. I love the idea of playing that. But then Dragon Quest 3, I mean, to be honest, I'm more hype for Dragon Quest. But then there's that whole platform thing. Dragon Quest 3 would have to be emulated because I refuse to play. Excuse me. I refuse to play the weird mobile port that's on the Switch. I just can't do it. So it would have to be emulated, SNES version, fan translation. I know I've said that a million times. I'm thinking really hard. So again, if I had to play it emulated in that state, I would be a little worried, because you know, when you play an emulated game and you put so many hours into it, it's a little nerve-wracking, right? Because you're almost afraid that you're gonna accidentally save over the wrong thing and screw things up, or something's just gonna go wrong. But with Phantasy Star 4, I shouldn't necessarily have that problem because it is on Sega Genesis Classic, and I mean, of course I have save states and stuff like that. It's just a little more elegant, I think. So, and it has that platform preference. So I think the answer is going to have to be Phantasy Star 4 by the skin of your teeth. Whoa. Okay, wait, what am I doing? 1. Submit score. Okay, yes. And now on to the grand finale.
Undertale versus Phantasy Star 4.
Okay. Excuse me, that hurts my voice. That is my voice, by the way. So, okay. We've said everything we have to say. It's just a matter of making the decision. We've talked about both of these games. Undertale, cult classic, short game, can get in and out quickly on the Switch. Platform preferences there. Phantasy Star 4, super hyped for the series. Best game in the series on the Switch. It's longer, but you know, it's going to be a really good experience. It all comes down to overall interest and hype on this one. And so my choice is going to have to be, it's hard. It's hard. I don't really know. But I have to make a decision. And my gut is tingling. My gut is telling me that Phantasy Star 4 is our winner. So with that, I'm going to... What's going on? What's going on? Can't choose a winner. Okay, well, I'm just going to announce the winner.
Your winner is Phantasy Star 4.
By the way, I'm going to come back to this for a second because where did it go? Where did it go? It's here. So I like how it says here, the explosive finale. Because Phantasy Star 4 was the last Phantasy Star game. There were no other Phantasy Star games after 4. It was the explosive grand finale. All of those ads that you're seeing for Phantasy Star 2 online or whatever, that's just fake news. This is the last in the series. What is it when you have like, so there's like Dilogy is 2 things, Trilogy is 3 things, Quadrilogy is 4. This is the explosive quadrilogy finale. That's not the word, but I just invented it, I guess. So, guys, I hope you had fun with this. I'm going to mention that this site that I'm using, in case you want to try making one of these like brackets for yourself. I know everybody likes to do those tiered lists these days. I thought I would change it up, do a bracket instead. This is a site called challenge.com. I'm not sponsored by them. I'm just telling you what it is in case you want to check it out. That's basically the word challenge, but with an O, challenge. Okay? And I'm going to be linking you guys to the music, the tunes in the background. I'll be linking you guys to that playlist. It is not my playlist, but I will make sure that YouTuber gets credit. And additionally, I'm going to link you to the artwork behind me. That is a fan artwork of Dragon Quest series. So you'll be able to check that out as well. And that's really it for this one, guys. Thanks so much for checking me out. And I'm stopping recording right now.